Nicole, do I have a setting back there just in case I want to walk up front? Is there like a... One of the settings might just, you can look on the preset settings and see if there's one for that. Talk about would be perfect, yep. Thanks. All right, Shabbat Shalom, folks. Great to have all of you here with us. Later on, we will get to the service component of our service for forgiveness. It's already going. Yep. For those watching the stream, I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. Later on, I'll be joined by our soloist, Allison Rosoff, and also Joy Katzenguthrie on piano. Welcome to all of you who are watching the live stream. Our program this evening is going to begin with the screening of a 17 or 18-minute documentary that I found online called Braided Prayer. The name of this band that you're going to see the documentary of is called Abraham Jam, and what's unique about it is that the three main members are a Presbyterian, a Christian, a Jewish individual, and then also a Muslim individual. And how this project started was way back in 2010. David Lamont, who is Presbyterian, he was working with a lot of students at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, and they specifically wanted to put together for the Parliament of World Religions a band that would feature a Jew, a Christian, and a Muslim. So all three Abrahamic faiths coming together, and it was in response to, at the time, recent anti-Semitic events and also increased Islamophobia. So the group is the musician David Lamont, and he's well known for speaking about peace and love and understanding. The Jewish students originally wanted Dan Nichols, who's known as kind of like the Jewish Bruce Springsteen, so to speak, but he wasn't available. So a guy named Billy Jonas was tapped to be the Jewish musician, and the Canadian poet and songwriter Dawood Wamsby is the Muslim. So without further ado, we'll play this 18-minute documentary. I hope you enjoy it.
This is my song, oh God.
Look, it's easy to point out what's wrong with the world. Anybody can do that. What's harder is to create what's right.
Maybe we don't need to agree to love each other and make something beautiful together.
Different lives teach different lessons, and that diversity of perspective can be a gift.
And that's what we're trying to do with this band. Harmony, we have to sing different notes.
We have to sing different notes.
My dreams, my holy shrine.
Probably almost 10 years ago now, or more, David Lamont called me up. He was working on a project trying to pull together an interfaith concert. And I said I would love to come, but it would be really a lot better if we actually worked together, if we created music together. And so that's sort of the first time that we came together for Abraham Jam.
We haven't worked
Awesome.
it out yet.
Right on. That sounds beautiful.
There's 3 lines.
Let's just do that first.
We'll try my third. I don't know what it is yet. This is my home. This is my home. The country where my heart is. This is my home.
So I was doing some work in 2011 with the Council of Churches, the North Carolina Council of Churches, and there was some incidents of Islamic and anti-Semitic violence. And we were trying to figure out how to stand in solidarity and respond to that. We wanted to reach students, and if you want to reach students, you do that with music.
My name is Billy Jonas, and how I identify, and first and foremost identify myself, is as a human. Beyond any affiliation, tribal or familial or religious, is as a human. And I've actually gotten in some contentious arguments with people who feel like you can't escape the lenses through which you have looked since birth, and that may be true. And I choose to identify primarily as a human. And after that, I am a musician, and I like to think I'm an ambassador of the spirit, to invite people into the realm of being in touch with something bigger than themselves.
So we put this band together by asking the students, who do you want to have come play? And this is what happened. We got to Abraham Jam. And the exciting idea about Abraham Jam, that very first show, right from the beginning, was that we weren't going to take turns playing songs. We were going to back each other up. We were going to be on stage together.
You don't need no ticket, you just thank the
It
Lord.
was a no-brainer. It was just like, David told me about this project, and I went, I meant to think of that. You thought of it first. Great. I want to come play. Can I come over and play? And it was just, I didn't even have to think about it. It was so obvious. Like, right.
This is my song.
And I work at my temple as a cantorial soloist along with several other musicians, and I have done some teaching there as well and continue to do that. And so my job in that community, that Jewish community, is, I believe, again, to stay as true as I can to who I am and who I believe I am, and continually polish the lens of my Judaism to be as inclusive as I can.
That first.
This
Well,
is
let's do all
my
that again.
song, O
Okay,
God
right
of
up.
all nations.
We're excited to be playing at the Lake Eaton Arts Festival. It's Abraham Jam's first gig at Leaf. I've played Leaf many times before. I played the very first Leaf ever, actually. But it's fun to have the band here. It's a beautiful venue.
It's also a little exciting to be thinking about playing some of the new material that we're working on the stage, which has us a little nervous because it's still fresh. It's still evolving.
Right.
But it's going to be fun to try it here for the first time and see how that feels with people.
Build dreams of chase behind their shadows in your mind.
This project is all about saying, hey,
You can choose to
we have three very different communities that we come from. We have found commonality. We've maintained the integrity of each of our lenses, and we found a way to overlap them in a beautiful way and to model it so that others will be inspired.
So, you know, it's not naive to think you can change the world. It's naive to think you could be in the world and not change it. And this is the change I want to make right now. I want to sing a better story. I want to show people that it's possible to create beauty without all having to be the same.
We've all got pain. We've all got challenges. We've all got some damage we're overcoming. And to recognize that commonality and let that be the core from which we empathize with each other and move forward.
drink the notes like drops of wine. Warming spirit, slowing time. Winding like an arbor vine. Drink the notes like drops of wine. When sky full of gloomy and doom, doom, thunder over under going boom, boom. See the fright grassroots keep it all together. Well, there's a path up the mountain so wide, wide, up to the summit to abide by. Get a grip when you slip and slide, slide. The grassroots keep it all together. Can you hear the rhythm of all creation? The rhythm of the clapping of the thunder and the rain. You see the rhythm of all creation, the lightning and the leaves and the seasons as they change. Drink deeply when the wine is poured, deeply when the wine is poured. Pass around the drinking gourd, pass around the drinking gourd. May your spirit be restored, may your spirit be restored. Drink deeply when the wine is poured. Play that man.
It is an incredible thing to have everybody point all that energy at you and have to. The trick is to not catch it, to let it flow through you or to reflect it back. The idea is to be a lens and let the light come through and focus it.
I'm thinking of David playing Shadows today, and when Billy and I began with the braided prayer that we do, we kind of just go into another. It's not a performance, that takes us out of performance mode, and I think it puts us into another frame of mind, and then to open our eyes from that and hear David play, that whole moment of braided prayer and shadows, I felt the most. And I think I'm doing this with my hand because I felt that with the audience and with us and David in the middle playing guitar. It seemed to be there was something happening that was beautiful. We were no longer in a performance mode. I think as an audience and performers, we were in an experiential mode, which was really beautiful.
Since Dawood lives in Canada, we try to pack everything in when he's here, and so we have studio dates lined up this week to try to finish the album. We are really getting close, and just in the last few weeks, I think we all agree that the album has kind of found its center, and it's become cohesive in this really interesting way. It's fascinating, we are three really different people in a lot of ways, and I think we are. It's authentic, the thing that we talk about in terms of singing different notes that are in harmony, as opposed to trying to sing the same note. That really is a solid metaphor for who we are, because we come at the world in really different ways.
There's a famous Muslim poet, Alam Iqbal, from Pakistan, and he wrote, and a dear friend of mine introduced me to this verse and quoted it often, and it stuck in my mind, that he says that the role of the poet is to be like a mirror to the society, and when the society looks in that mirror, they become like a tornado in a bird cage. We don't always like what we see when we look in the mirror, but if the poet can be that reflection to a community, and it can spin that energy up within them, that positive energy, or that self kind of realization that, we need to change our ways, then I think that is where Abraham Jam has the potential to help.
Here it is. This is the big album release party for the new album, White Moon. We've been working on it for 8 or 9 months, something like that. It's been a huge production, and they came in a few days ago. We have the CDs, so now we just have to have an awesome show.
I wouldn't call it anxiety, but it's got me amped up and a little nervous.
Last I heard, the place is not very close to sold out, so I don't know who's going to come. I hope the people show up, and I hope they love it. We've been working really hard to give them a good show, so we'll see what happens.
I really want people to be inspired. Beyond the idea of what we do, I really want it to just purely be a beautiful experience for folks, because I think that's such a medicine and so necessary.
Billy's the type of fellow who is, he always talks about the word Israel, meaning, to wrestle and wrestle with God, and that's so beautiful. And I'd never really known that about what that word meant in that way, and it's helped me a lot in my spiritual journey to see someone like Billy who recognizes the act of wrestling constantly with ourselves and our own egos and our own demons and frustrations, and wrestling with society and society's expectations of what should be normal or what should be right or wrong, or struggling and wrestling with our own faith communities and what they tell us is the path to righteousness.
Did you put more love in the world today?
It's like, oh my God, look, you put love in the world that way. Now I'm going to find a way to do it. And with kids, I ask them, how do you put more love in the world? And they'll say hugs and smiles, and sooner or later one will say singing. I go, that's how I like to do it. Not only singing, but getting people to sing along and to be in the music together. Love that.
All right, so we worked really hard, and you do that so you don't screw up. But then this is the part that where, like, if we screw up, it's okay, because our job here is to shine light.
That's right.
And to spread joy and to be authentic, to deal with people.
Amen.
And invite them into the bigger circle. So when you asked me about the magic in this project, let's pray. When Dawood and Billy started singing sacred text together and singing against each other, and it just wove perfectly and naturally, and musically it was exquisite, and just the pacing of it, and all my little hairs stood up on both of my arms and both of my legs, and you can't fake that. It's one of the things you should pay attention when you get goosebumps on your goosebumps. That's real.
Praise with a timbrel, praise with a dance, praise with your senses, every chance, praise with your fingers, praise with your feet, praise with your heart, every single beat.
Every ripple along the ocean, every leaf on every tree, every sand dune in the desert, every power we never see. I'd say there is a deeper wave than this swelling in the world. There is a deeper wave than this. Listen to me, girl. On my lips there's a prayer of longing to you, my God. Zindagi shamaki sura to khudaya meri. And there'll be no barricades then, no wires and no walls will wash this blood from my hand, all this hatred from our souls. And I believe that on that day the children of Abraham will lay down their souls forever in Jerusalem.
Music is a commonality that all of humanity shares in one form or another. And so events like this just give people the opportunity to come together regardless of a belief or lack of belief, and just enjoy that peaceful moment.
Well, especially in times like now when the country is increasingly divisive, and the whole world, it seems like a lot of other countries are following that trend right now of separating the people when really the people should be coming together and supporting one another and supporting one another's rights.
My friends, we have much work to do. With love our cause and our reward. Drink deeply when the wine is poured.
Yeah, I think success in this project is opening people's hearts and encouraging people who are discouraged in the work. These are discouraging times to be trying to make the world a better place. There's a lot that is discouraging, and that's real. But I firmly believe that hope, real hope, thick hope, is not predicated on denying that things are hard. It's about seeing the possibility to do better. And I think we can do better.
May your spirit be restored. May your spirit be restored. Drink deeply when the wine is poured.
Thank you all so much. It's been such a pleasure to be with you.
So much. God bless. Y'all come on out here. Thank you. Blessings. River Gregarian, the tall man, Chris Rossi. Good to be with y'all.
Right. So what do you think of the documentary? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Oh, thank you for turning on the lights. Really appreciate it. So how, and I'll bring the microphone around so that people at home can hear you. How are these musicians or this group, Abraham Jam, ambassadors, in your opinion? Oh, hold on one sec. Gotta use the mic so people can hear you.
They show harmony between three different religions, and it makes you think twice of where you are in your life. I think so.
I listened to them on Pathways to Prayer on Jewish Rock Radio, and their harmony is absolutely beautiful. And it's seeing them come together as people who have been so at odds for so long makes you see how beautifully people can come together in music.
And interestingly enough, before each gig that they play or performance, they pray separately but in the same room. And I was able to see another video which included that, which was it was quite beautiful to see. Any other thoughts on that? Do they say that? I don't need to be double mic'd. It gets really loud. So your question? Music is the eternal language. That's a wonderful, wonderful comment. Mm-hmm. What do you think about their metaphor of the mirror? So at some point in the documentary, one of the musicians, I can't remember which off the top of my head, but he talked about that sometimes it's really important as an individual, but also as a society, to have the image of a mirror and kind of look inward, which obviously is something that this time of year is on a lot of people's minds, and especially the Jewish community's collective mind as well. Mm-hmm.
That statement and the one of the singers talking about a poetry, that poetry is a mirror as well, that it is reflecting people, and I found that quite moving because we see ourselves in others, and we see them in us, and you can't have a judgment, and you can't see something in another without it first being in yourself. If you don't know what it is in yourself, you don't see it in another. So it's very easy to make a judgment, but it only comes from within. So I thought the mirror statements were quite meaningful.
And just as an aside, the Jewish performer whose name is Billy, there's a great, in reformjudaism.com, from about 10 years or so, a great article on this band and kind of this project in general. And in that article, when I read it, it talks about how Billy, who works as a synagogue musician, kind of chairs the sacred music section of the synagogue, how when he was growing up at different times in his life, he was always looking for something, but he felt when he was really young that congregational worship was very staid and, not very joyous, and, who knows, it could have had, earlier instrumentation or less call and response type of singing. And he would instead look for things like going to a Native American sweat lodge or, learning about Buddhism and kind of traveling through different religions, but then ultimately he kind of found his place in Judaism and found comfort in himself, which I think you can clearly see. And one additional note about Billy, the Jewish musician, he said that he, in his music, is trying to channel Naomi Shemer. So Naomi Shemer is one of the most famous Israeli musicians. She wrote and sang Jerusalem of Gold. She put the arrangement together for that, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, which I would think at some point, maybe during the high holidays, we might actually sing that. I'm not exactly sure. And the quote that he says is, "Let me be a violin for all your songs." That's Naomi Shemer's quote, that he himself wants to be the conduit for the song, or the conduit for peace and understanding. And there's also a lot of, this is another question that I have that some of you might want to comment on, the use of harmony, and kind of that not everyone had to sing the exact same note for it to work out. Anybody have some thoughts on that?
I think the commonality is reflected in so many different ways. Certainly, Jewish music is different from Christian music, which is different from Muslim music. The Jewish view of God, and the Jewish concepts of God are different from Christian and from Muslim. Yet, and they've come together to make something beautiful. They're very different people, but that commonality shows that people should be able to get together and do some pretty good things.
Absolutely. And they're not shying away from their differences. In a way, they're quietly kind of amplifying them, showing where they intermesh, and then also, from the different languages that you heard, whether it's, Hebrew, Arabic, or English, how they can also intertwine.
I like not only that they were able to bring the different notes of the music together into a harmony, but when they said that instead of being performers to an audience, but bringing everyone together into like a musical circle that continued into just one place and one spiritual experience is what I personally get from this music, what I experience.
Thank you. One of the interesting quotes that I got from the article that I read was they were asked by the interviewer, how do you know when the band is really connecting with the audience? And the answer that one of them gave was, we know we've really connected with the audience when we finish a song and when there's silence. So this is going to be different from a Dave Matthews Band concert or something like that, where the 15,000 people pretty much know verbatim all the words of the songs, and they're coming along. But obviously, in this case, they were putting forth a new album, so nobody had heard each of these songs before. I don't know. What do you think of that notion? Yeah, so they could be absorbing. I mean, a lot of times when there's silence, people get uncomfortable relatively quickly. But maybe in this case, the silence lets them know that they're not kibitzing with one another, which would mean that they're, only halfway paying attention, or they're not necessarily interested. I mean, there were a lot of little kids there. I don't know if they're going to remain silent, but they're going to make some noise. But I like the answer, and I think in this particular case, it works. If it were like pop music and they were having a concert, then I'd be a little bit, I would wonder, is the music good enough? Is the performance good enough? But in this case, the notion of silence and kind of sitting with silence and absorbing what you heard, there's something important in that. And at least at one point in every Jewish prayer service, and there will be tonight in the Selichot Service of Forgiveness, there's at least one moment of reflection and silence. There might be a musical overlay with or without words, but I think it's important to have that, knowing that some people might be uncomfortable with that. Some people want some noise to fill in the gaps and fill in that silence, but it's okay.
The audience really feel that music and internalize the music, and that was great to see that. They heard it, they saw it, and they felt it, and they moved to it.
Absolutely. And all the better that it was inside, given the rainstorm.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thanks. And then I'll just share one quote just to refresh your memory. When they are talking about harmony, David, who's the Muslim in the group, he said, "We don't have to be singing the same exact note to cultivate peace. We can sing different notes that are beautiful together." And that's a really, really beautiful, beautiful statement. Any other thoughts on the movie? Yeah, well, it makes you think. I think the themes work somewhat well with reflection and teshuvah and looking inward. Thank you so much for watching it and for being a part of the discussion. What we're going to do now, for those of you on the live stream, hang tight. We're going to, in about 10 minutes, start the Selichot service, but this will be a time if you need to use a restroom or something just to get situated for the service. There will not be a prayer book, a physical prayer book that you'll be using. The entire service is going to be displayed on the screens because this service is taken from Mishkan Halev, which is an entirely different printed prayer book than either our Mishkan Tefillah, which is the Shabbat, or Mishkan HaNefesh, which is the 2-volume Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur set. So thanks again for being part of the discussion, and hopefully you enjoyed the movie. And in about 10 minutes, we'll begin our Selichot service, which will be followed by a wonderful oneg, thanks to the generosity of Sisterhood. And in advance of the service, I also wanted to thank Mike and Nicole Skalka for being our tech crew in the back, and also thank in advance Joy and Allison for their participation in this service. A word of advice: look at the differences when the service begins, especially when we open the ark, and also listen to some of the differences that you'll find between the Shabbat service and the new modes of music that we will begin hearing for the first time during the season tonight. So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. All right, we are soon set to begin our Selichot Service of Forgiveness. Wonderful having all of you here. Hopefully you're still tuning in from the live stream. And we'll begin our service with a reading that you'll find right on the screen, an introduction to this evening. With many thanks in advance to Alison Rosoff, our soloist, and Joy Katzenguthrie, our pianist. In the Middle Ages, in the towns, Jewish towns and villages of Europe, the Scholklaffer, which is the Yiddish version of the town crier, would make his rounds from house to house, pounding on doors with a wooden mallet to gather a minyan, a set of 10 people, for prayer. But during the days of Selichot, penitential prayers of forgiveness that precede Rosh Hashanah, the door knocking happened at midnight. The mallet was shaped like a shofar with the curves, and the Schulklopper would have a special message for everyone on his route, men, women, and children alike. Yisrael, Israel, holy folk, awake and arouse yourselves and rise to the service of the Creator. I think many of us still aspire to be holy folk, and we will soon rise tonight, as our ancestors did, to the service of our Creator. We're here not because of any particular knock on the door, but because at this season our hearts begin to pound. An inner voice awakens us, and we feel summoned to this place of prayer and community, this special sanctuary. The Selichot service will begin with the beautiful tradition of Havdalah, which is marking the separation, the end of Shabbat, and the beginning of the new week. My pleasure to call Ed and Anita Marks forward. They're going to be helping to light the candle, first of all, the braided multi-wick candle, and then holding up the various Klei Kodesh, the ritual objects, the first being the symbol of joy, wine, or fruit of the vine. The second to be lifted and then perhaps opened so you can smell the aromatic spices and the cloves of the bisamim. And then finally, to place during the blessing for light, it's customary to put your fingernails relatively close, obviously not too close, to the light, and you can see the reflection of it and keep it with you. The beauty of what you see, of what you smell, and what you experience of Shabbat through the rest of the new week. So Ed, I'll ask you to light the braided candle. As we sing Debbie Friedman's beautiful arrangement of the Havdalah prayers. La 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. You can raise the wine glass. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen borei pori hagafen la 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 la, ya la la la. And now the spices. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim borei meorei amim ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. Now for the lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la. So I'll say Yasher Koach to Ed and Anita. Thank you so much for helping out during the beautiful service of Havdalah. And now we're going to mark the separation by singing Hamavdil Bein Kodesh, separating holy from the rest of the week. Hamavdil Bein Kodesh, Bein Hodesh Lohol, Hatotenu Yimhol, Zarenu Vechashtenu Yarbe Hakol, Ve'akochavim Balayla, Shavua Tov, 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 a good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. And our hope for Eliyahu Hanavi, the prophet, to bring a measure of that peace to our world today. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimhera ve'amenu, Yahavo Eleinu, Moshiach ben David, Moshiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi. Now we'll continue with a beautiful song, Hashivenu, Return Again.
Hashivenu, Adonai, Eleh. to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Shuva, Shuva. Chadesh, Chadesh, Yameinu ki Kadesh.
Take us back, Adonai, let us come back to you, renew in our time the days of old. If you'd like to join me on the next slide right here. Last sliver of the moon, the waning crescent, small and slender, growing in the east, at the end of the journey. A curve of silver barely there that fades away with the dawn. Faintest light the eye can discern, like the soul within me, barely there, waning and weary as the year winds down. At the end of the journey, the old moon flickers out, and darkness awaits the new. Now, in the stillness, we can feel it being born. Remind us the horizon will be bright again. The waxing crescent will rise. Heal our hearts. Gather us in from the darkness. Restore the light within us. All through the 12th month of the Jewish calendar year, the month of Elul, which is sharing the theme of not only turning inward, but also of love, as each of the 4 Hebrew letters in the word Elul are exactly like the first 4 letters in a beautiful verse from the Song of Psalms, I, my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Traditionally, during each morning, one would read or chant Psalm 27, followed by the sounding of the shofar. And Allison will now lead us in one of the beautiful verses, Achat Sha'alti, one thing that I ask.
Sha'alti me'ed Adonai, Achat sha'alti utavakesh, Achat sha'alti me'ed Adonai, Sha'alti utavakesh, Shivti, Shivti, beveit Adonai, Shivti, Shivti, kol yemei chayai. Shivti, Shivti, beveit Adonai. Shivti, Shivti, kol yemei chayai. שאלתי אותה
Let's continue with some moments for personal reflection. Be patient toward all that is unresolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given because you are not able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answers. We are taught by the sages of old that days are scrolls, and we write on them only what we want remembered. But we also remember our weakness, and our days bear the mark of all that went wrong. On this night, we have hope in the one who sustains us. Though we stumble and falter, you promise forgiveness. If we stray from the truth, you do not forsake us. If we sink to the depths, your mercy uplifts us. If our urges betray us, your compassion is endless. If we distance ourselves, you do not disdain us. If we abandon your teachings, still you embrace us. If we seek you sincerely, your presence surrounds us. If we pray from the heart, you listen with yours. Though we stumble and falter, we are blessed by God's promise. We'll now continue with the words, "We are your people, ki anu amecha."
כי אנו עמך ואתה מלכנו, אנו בניך ואתה אבינו, אנו נחלתך ואתה גורלנו, אנו צאנך ואתה רוענו, אנו כרמך ואתה נוטרנו, אנו רתך ואתה דודנו, לי לי לה 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 לי, לי לי לה 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 לי, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה לה, יא לה לה, יא לה 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 לה.
There's a wonderful poet, many called him a modern psalmist, named Yehuda Amichai. He's one of my favorite Israeli poets, and here you'll find the poem God's Fate, Gorel Elohim in Hebrew. God's fate is now like the fate of trees and stones, sun and moon, in which we stopped believing when faith in God began. But God is obliged to stay with us, at least like the trees, at least like the stones, and like the sun, moon, and stars. Please rise now as we open the ark. You'll notice the different color of the Torah mantles, and we'll be reading God's 13 attributes. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha V'Chata'a V'Nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon. Torah Adonai Temimah Mishivat Nafesh. The Torah of the Eternal is perfect, renewing the soul. The testimony of the Eternal is enduring, making the simple wise. The precepts of the Eternal are just, rejoicing the heart. The instruction of the Eternal is lucid, giving light to the eyes. Feel free to be seated. Always wonderful seeing those pure, white, fresh, clean start mantles as we approach the high holidays. The path of return is the next section of our prayers this evening. Soul of eternity, my strength, my song, where will I find you? Your place is a mystery, far away. But where will I not find you? Your glory fills the world. I sought your nearness. I called you with all my heart. And when I went out to find you, I found you coming toward me. Breathless, I witnessed your power, and in holiness I gazed. It's a beautiful poem by another Yehuda, but this Yehuda Halevi, who lived many, many, many centuries before Yehuda Amichai in the 11th and 12th centuries. We'll continue now with our Vidui, our confession. As the days of awe near, we reach for the infinite. Mindful of our frailty, we seek the holy. Despite loneliness within, we sense that we belong to a single soul, a spirit that fills the universe. Let us find in that universal spirit a new source of strength and significance. Let our hearts be open to self-reckoning. May we grasp how vital to our lives is teshuvah, the path of return. Now we'll be chanting the acrostic, listing of ways that we have missed the mark. Ashamnu.
Shine. Liatznu,
Liatznu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Ashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oreh,
Ishinu Oreh.
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu,
Titanu. Continue on this theme, I'll hate the ways we have wronged and the harm we have caused in the world. For all these sins, O God, we ask forgiveness. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha be'ones uvratzon, the ways we have wronged you under duress and by choice. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha bizadon uvishgaga, the harm we have caused in your world by deliberately and by mistake. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha bagalui uvasater, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha yodim uvlo yodim, the harm we have caused in your world consciously and unconsciously. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha b'sinat chinam, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha bir hilut, the harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha b'tsarut ayin, the ways we have wronged you through a selfish or petty spirit. Al hate shechatanu lefanecha bi'imutz halev, the harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts. Al kulam elohas lichot selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu, for all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Continue now with another poem by Yehuda Amichai, who died in the year 2000, on the dangers of absolutist thinking, self-righteousness, and stubbornness. I ask myself, who's listening to these words of confession? Magnificent ears of the universe, are you my personal confidant? Or am I just talking to myself? Then I got it. The question is a diversion to distract me from hearing who I really am. Words of Shema Cholenu, Eternal One, hear our voice, a song of forgiveness. Now hear.
Shema Shema Koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Shema Koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Shema
Please join me in this responsive reading. Hear our call, Adonai, our God. Show us compassion. Accept our prayer with love and goodwill. Take us back, Adonai. Let us come back to you. Renew our days as in the past. Hear our words, Adonai. Understand our unspoken thoughts. May the speech of our mouth and our heart's quiet prayer be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and our Redeemer. Do not cast us away from your presence or cut us off from your Holy Spirit. Do not cast us away when we are old. As our strength diminishes, do not forsake us. Do not forsake us, Adonai. Be not far from us, our God. With hope, Adonai, we await you. Surely you, Adonai, our God, you will answer. Now we have an opportunity for silent prayer and reflections of our own, while Allison sings words of avodah, words of prayer called ritzeh.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amecha Yisrael U'tefilatan me'ahava Tikabel
continue with another poem by Priscilla Stern as we get ready and prepare ourselves for the first time we'll be hearing Avinu Malkeinu, our God. This prayer is called Walk With Me. Walk with me into the woods, leave the edge of the forest behind. Come deep into the green until the shafts of sunlight are lost. Feel the stillness of center. Walk with me to the top of the hill, leave the broad path behind. Up beyond where the trees grow. Hear the heights of the heights. Walk me into this new year, into its demands, into its joys, into the clamor of its unfolding. Walk alone, each of us on our own right path, with the echoes of the blasts of the shofar, with the stillness of the center, with the help of our God. Let's rise now for the words of Avinu Malkeinu as we open the ark, Almighty and merciful.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki Hein Banu Masim, Asei Manu, Tzedakah v'chesed, Asei
Read together, Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu, Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha, Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'al Olaleinu Vitapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, Vecherev, Vera'av, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar, Umasin, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Feel free to be seated. Just a couple of brief announcements before the final tekiahs are called for this evening. Once again, thank you to Mike and Nicole Skalka for their tech work, to Allison and to Joy for their beautiful music as always. Our high holiday cemetery visits will take place tomorrow, noon at Sylvan Abbey and 1 p.m. right next door at Curlew Hills. So 12 at Sylvan Abbey and 1 p.m. at Curlew Hills. Hopefully some of you might be joining us for our Shofar Factory, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. Tomorrow, where we get to actually do some sanding and Mod Podging of some shofarot. Next Friday, Rabbi Klein will be leading services alongside Allison and Joy, so that's a treat, and I thank Rabbi Klein in advance. And before you know it, our Erev Rosh Hashanah service will begin on Sunday, September 25th at 8 p.m. And we're looking to have a few more people than we have in the last couple years. I think we topped out from about 15 to 20, and that was our max in person. We're hoping to exceed that by just a few folks. So right at the page right there, the visual page, we have 3 soundings of the shofar. I'm going to turn my mic off for this.
Tekiah. 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 Oh. Tekiah Gadolah.
There you go. Hopefully you heard that in live stream land, and thank you so much for being here for really the beginning of the holiday season. Shavua Tov to each and every one of you, and those of us who are here. Many thanks to Sisterhood for a great oneg that we'll enjoy next door. We do have our prayer for health. Wasn't paying attention to my cue sheet. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect life. Amen.